and Education Conference 2023. We are so pleased to have you with us. Another jam-packed day of engaging and interesting learning and play are ahead of us. First, it is my pleasure to introduce our first keynote speaker of the day, a longtime friend of Second Life, Virtual Worlds, and VWBPE. Dr. Stylianos Mystakidis is an innovator in educational technology and researcher at the University of Patras and a tutor counselor at the Hellenic Open University in Greece. He has published over 90 works. Let me say that again, 90 works in peer-reviewed international journals, conferences, and books on virtual worlds, metaverse, virtual reality, augmented reality, open and distance education, playful design, gamification, storytelling, and serious games. He has academic teaching experience for universities in Greece, Cyprus, the United Nations, or the United Kingdom, sorry, it is the United Nations, Spain, and USA. He has participated as certified project manager and researcher in 14 international projects. His formal studies include a PhD in cognitive science at the Faculty of Information Technology at the University of, I can't say that, I'm sorry, I should have practiced, in Finland, and an MA in education in virtual worlds at the University of West of England and Bristol in the UK, MSc in mechanical engineering at the National Technical University of Athens in Greece, and postgraduate certificate at the Open University of Catalonia in Spain. For more information about our friend Mystakidis, our friend Stylianos, check out his research profile here. And there we go. So we will have a question and answer period very briefly at the end. If you do have a question, please hold it until the end. And you can put it in chat marked with a Q so that I can easily find it. I'll be facilitating the questions. So now let's hear it for Stylianos Mystakidis, our own Stylianos Ling.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Lorraine and everyone. So wonderful to see so many friends around here. Thank you very much for all of you and for the fantastic, fabulous team of the conference, and for all of you who came here quite early, for many of you. So highly appreciate it. And so today I have prepared in this talk a simple question that you will be prompted to answer at the very end of this talk, as well at the various stages during this presentation. So I like to have them make presentations interactive. So I'm going to be asking you questions. I'm looking forward to monitoring your answers in the chat. Right. So the question is straightforward. So is Metaverse the Pandora's Pithos or a panacea for education? And to tackle this question, we're going to be exploring 7+1 uncommon truths about the Edu-Metaverse. So, right, together, you see I have brought all my gear with me to tackle this. So, I'm connecting and talking to you from Greece, and more specifically the city of Patras, which is in Europe, and Patras is in the western part of Greece, where we have the modern landmark of the Rion Bridge that you can see on the left. However, Patras is also famous as the city of St. Andrew or St. Andreas because he became a martyr there. He's also buried here, in case you didn't know. So, and we also have two universities that I am affiliated with, as I'm going to exploring with all of you. So, why am I here with you? Well, probably because in the last decades I was actively involved with innovation education, and more specifically, I started with Playful, the design of Playful virtual worlds of award-winning simulations. Of later on, with a massive open online course in social virtual reality that was also awarded. And then I continued with some research on virtual reality escape rooms for STEM fields, for STEM education, science mostly. And then we moved on and created, along with colleagues, an online professional development program for all K-12 educators of a European country. Finally, in the last few years, I have been teaching at the Hellenic Open University on open distance education, and I'm also working as an innovator and researcher at the Science and Technology Museum of the University of Patras in Greece, where we focus on educational applications in the metaverse. And the outline of this talk is quite straightforward. We have the dilemma. We're going to be exploring these truths about the metaverse, but also I'm going to be also connecting the metaverse with a recent tragedy that has hit Greece. At the very end, we're going to have hopefully a catharsis of this tragedy, our actual vote that Laurie will be facilitating for us. So, but let's start with something, with a tragedy that less than 1 month ago, the deadliest railway disaster happened in Greece, where that occurred between two trains, where a passenger train and a freight train collided with each other and killed at least 57 people, most of them young people and students who returned from holidays. A huge a tragedy, and the metaverse could have prevented that, as I will argue. How? We're going to see later during the talk. But now let's see and explore this dilemma, and let's take a look at these two terms that we have here: Pandora's Pithos and Panacea. And have you heard of them? Are you familiar with them at all? Do I need to explain them? Please let me know in the chat if you want. All right. Okay, Gentle and Heike and Beth. Right. So both terms stem from ancient Greek mythology. So Pandora was the equivalent of Eve in Greek mythology. She was the first woman to be created by the gods, but she was involved in a story of deceit. Her name actually is very positive. It means the all-giving, or the one who is full of gifts, and indeed all gods endowed her with unique virtues and gifts. But after humanity was created, a titan named Prometheus famously stole the fire from the gods and gave it to mankind. Now, fire is a symbol for scientific knowledge, technology, and civilization. And as you might know, Greek gods are 100% human-like and full of passion. And so, of course, Zeus, the leader of the gods, got very angry and conceived a plan to take revenge. So what he did was to offer beautiful Pandora to become the wife of Epimetheus, who was the brother of Prometheus. And he accepted Pandora as a wife but she brought with her a beautiful large jar called a Pithos, not a simple box, and but this was crafted by the gods. But as Epimetheus opened it, as you can see in the left picture of the slide, it unleashed all evils and curse and into our world. On the on the right-hand side, we have Panacea, and she was the daughter of Asclepius, the god of medicine, and she had a famous potion that was the cure of all diseases. So this talk's dilemma is whether the metaverse will be a for hidden curse for education or a cure to all the problems of educators and learners alike. So to untangle this dilemma, let's start exploring the metaverse in the context of education. And we start with the very first truth regarding what the metaverse is and where it came from. So first of all, since we are in virtual worlds, in a virtual world, we can say that the metaverse is an open network of interoperable virtual worlds. In other words, the 3D iteration of the internet or the Internet of Place. And nope. Right. And in an article about the metaverse, we have attempted to capture, this its main dimensions. So its technologies, its principles, affordances, or benefits and challenges. Okay. And as we know, the word metaverse was coined in the novel Snow Crash by Neil Stevenson. However, I argue that the metaverse and virtual reality has ancient philosophical underpinnings. More specific, in the 4th century before Christ, Plato, in the allegory of the cave, argued that all reality is virtual. All reality that we experience is virtual. And what we see is not real, but our subjective interpretation of the objective reality. Interestingly, modern neuroscience has actually confirmed this idea. Now, going back to this allegory of the cave, humanity is chained in a cave and sees projected shadows of objects that considers them as reality. Hence, the mandate of philosophers and of free people is to break these mental chains, escape from the cave, and seek the truth. Moreover, the first instance of Metaverse, Metaverse 1.0, was implemented in 2008, when avatars were able to teleport from Second Life to OpenSim Hypergrid for the first time, hence creating the first interoperable gate between two virtual world platforms. But moving on, the metaverse right now is not nearly ready. It's 100% under development. And more specifically, only some pieces of the metaverse are available now and fully developed, such as social virtual reality and virtual worlds. However, there is a component of mixed or augmented metaverse that is under construction that will allow us to communicate as holograms in physical spaces, as depicted here not only in movies, but also in military settings. So what is the current status of the metaverse? I'm going to be mentioning two initiatives that are of interest here. IEEE, the world's largest technical professional organization, launched in 2021 a global initiative on ethics of extended reality. And this initiative published a series of white papers on XR ethics, drawing insights from researchers and experts. And among them, you will be able to find the report on extended reality ethics in education, where I was also actively involved as a co-author. And in 2022, we have the Metaverse Standards Forum, where leading standards organizations and companies start incorporating to foster interoperability standards to build the open metaverse. But as we know, as all things in life, the metaverse itself too has dark sides that we're going to explore right now. So in December 2017, the first fatal accident was recorded in Russia involving the use of a immersive VR headset. So in a study, we have identified the main threats and risks related to augmented reality, and also you can see also in the another cited paper around a similar about ethics of realism in virtual reality as well. There are three main categories of threats that we have identified: risks to physical health, such as the accident that we mentioned, risks to psychological health, and also to data privacy. And if you take a look at the first cluster in green above, you will see that the three mentioned threats, distraction of attention, isolation, and body neglect, they should be familiar with us. Why? Because they don't even need the metaverse. They already exist today, and there are concerns today, but the metaverse can amplify them. However, if we take a closer look at the third cluster at the very bottom, around privacy, extended reality and the metaverse bring us a new level of threat and risks. Why? Due to the fact that all the devices that will be wearing to access the metaverse will have the capability to capture our biometric measurements and to build our biometric psychography. That is at all times what our physiological response is to the stimuli that we receive through the metaverse. And that includes our eye gaze, our facial expressions, measurements regarding to our brain and brain activity, and even our skin. So all of them and many, many more, much more sophisticated, can be used to make behavioral inferences, what we like, under what conditions, and so on. And if these data are being used without our consent, they can have very grave and unpleasant consequences. For example, imagine inferring that you have some inclination for health problems or diseases, and then insurance companies denying you the opportunity of having health insurance. So that's something to take into account when regards to the data privacy. Therefore, what we have done is to formulate an ethical data analytics framework for the metaverse with practical safeguards to prevent these ethical risks. Again, since we're going to be gliding through the slides, more information can be found in the cited papers that will be provided at the end of this talk. And now we can move on to the fourth uncommon truth, that not all learning works in the metaverse, and all of us have experienced all too well from the virtual worlds era. The first instinct of most of us and several educators and institutes is to replicate familiar educational practices and environments such as a classroom or a lecture room to convey a sense of seriousness. However, as we're going to see later on, it makes more sense to orchestrate other kinds of learning activities. And moving on, the recent COVID pandemic, propelled and fueled the discussion about the future of work as regards in the direction of flexible remote work. So one very relevant question is the metaverse ready for full-time work? Now, this cited comparative study investigated immersive VR for desktop-based work, and the results were not encouraging at all. Working every day for several hours in immersive VR wasn't very pleasant or productive. So we have still ways to go. So how do we how do we start with education in the metaverse? So now my personal motto about education in general, not just the metaverse, can be summarized in this sentence: win the students' hearts to engage their mind. And we live in an era where a wealth of information creates a poverty of attention, as economist and psychologist Herbert Simon has noted. Therefore, high-quality education is associated with learning that is lasting, durable, and transformative. In other words, deep, meaningful learning. And as we describe in a journal study, the virtuous cycle of deep, meaningful learning starts by winning the attention of the students, by sparking their interest for the subject matter, by fueling and maintaining their motivation to engage in various ways that through their agency with the content, and apply their knowledge in realistic context, and through repetitive practice to achieve the desirable transfer of skills and competencies in the workplace. So in all of this process and all these stages, positive emotions are the catalysts of all of these to occur. In the opposite end, in the contrast, negative emotions can inhibit seriously learning. So one relative question is, what does this high quality of learning looks like in the metaverse? I'm certain that many of you will have many memorable experiences and moments with your students. So, but I believe this snapshot captures such a memorable moment. So let me ask you now, and you can answer in the chat if you want. What do you think is happening in this picture? Students in red are emitting these yellow crying emoticon faces to express their sadness. Can you guess what has happened? What do you think? Do you have any idea? Why are students sad? Yeah, they could have been having problems with the tech, but no, they're using just fine. Visual griefing, yes, that has happened to all of us when bullying, but no, that's not what happened. No, they're not isolated because they together. Indeed, not having legs, it's a huge problem. Beth, no, they don't have board. They're anonymous. Yes, a friend passed away. No. That's no, they're overwhelmed by all kinds of information. These are all very logical assumptions based on our experiences. However, this is not the case. What has happened is that the lesson has just been finished. They've been having so much fun and have been enjoying the lesson that they wanted more. So this is exactly, I think, this sets the bar for what our ambition should be in the metaverse. This is how good our learning sessions, our classes should be, how enjoyable, how engaging, how immersive, so that our students want more. So that's, I think, what we should be striving for. Is it realistic to say that we're going to achieve it each time? No, but this is the ultimate goal. And now let's move and analyze how we can achieve that. So the next uncommon truth is, I think, one of the most important one. It lies in the heart of all of this talk, because anyone interested in education in the metaverse should study very, very well immersive learning. Immersive experiential learning is the prime reason why the metaverse is valuable for education, to my opinion, not only metaverse, the virtual worlds and virtual reality as well. And so why? So in another review article that will be openly available in the next couple of days, we have summarized all aspects of immersive learning, starting with the fact that immersive learning is not confined in digital environments. It's possible to achieve it through analog physical methods as well. But of course, in the context of the metaverse, the known technology of VR and AR are to our aid, and they are so exactly as Edith is also mentioning, due to the fact that immersion is linked with the sense of presence and flow as well, and therefore, when it comes to designing it, we need to engage the senses, the actions, through narrative and social interaction. So here you can see an analysis of the types and components of immersive learning in the metaverse. You can see that we have two categories: system immersion and psychological immersion, or immersion as a psychological state. So system immersion, for example, when we are in immersive VR, it means that we are relying on sensory features that are linked with our vision, our sound, and our haptics, touch. But psychological immersion is more interesting because it can be evoked through two main methods, that is narrative immersion through roles, avatars, characters, stories, events, and so on, and also challenge immersion or ludic immersion, that is immersion due to games, that is a result of actions and of social interaction that takes place. And I think this last category is also something that all of us that have been in virtual worlds have experienced long before immersive devices were around, even through a desktop computer. So this is the power of immersive learning. So going deeper into that, we studied what, in a systematic review, we have studied deep and meaningful learning in social virtual reality, and we have proposed a model for deep meaningful learning. And this model includes factors related to the learner characteristics that need to be identified and analyzed. Secondly, the technology and its affordances. And finally, all factors that have to do with us, with educators, with teachers, our perceptions and about what constitutes good teaching, and more importantly, the learning design that we apply to build environments, activities. So all of them, if are aligned, they can lead to learning that can become meaningful when it has 5 characteristics: if it is intentional, active, constructive, authentic, and cooperative. These are these 5 characteristics of meaningful learning. So moving on, regarding the use of immersive VR, when is it recommended? Should we use it for all occasions? Well, Professor Bellinson formulated the acronym of DICE. So, according to him, immersive VR should be used primarily when activity is either dangerous, impossible, counterintuitive, or simply too expensive to implement in a physical environment. And you can see some of examples of it: the flight simulator, or browsing a virtual time travel, or a class visit in a tropical forest. All of them are examples. But moreover, we continued by reviewing the use of learning strategies in school, K-12, and higher education of immersive virtual reality. And there one major finding was that experiential learning through simulations and role play was the dominant paradigm. And moving over to augmented reality, in another study, we describe how storytelling is an effective method to engage students as designers and developers of stories. And that gave us yet another motive and incentive to continue and conduct another systematic review to study how augmented reality can support learning in STEM fields, so science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And this study has concluded and in the formulation of a taxonomy for augmented reality supported learning methods in STEM education that is also relevant in the metaverse. And this taxonomy that you can see in the slide features 5 levels, starting from the visualization of 3D content that the students consumes passively, moving on with the addition of some activities, and then with the element of cooperation in the third stage, and then the next one is the addition of immersion and experience through problem solving, experiences, simulations, and so on, where the learner now is an apprentice in active and authentic learning. And finally, the 5th stage is the autonomous production, where the learner is the producer of content in self-directed projects. So skipping that, and so with all these reviews, after all these reviews, it was the time to try and make some of this happening and try to implement some of these directions. And this can be captured with the motto that motivate with action, play, and story. So motivation now is in the heart of everything that we have done. And why is that? Because motivation is one of the most important affective aspects of learning, as it influences the cognitive processes of learning. And when people like and enjoy online learning experiences that are meaningful to them, they tend to engage, take initiatives, set goals, and achieve them in the learning. So therefore, motivation, and positive emotions to make learning stick and reinforce desired behavioral change. So Ding and all outline the following 4 major motivation enhancement methods. You can see them here, and 3 of them are of particularly relevant for digital education and the metaverse. Playful design or playification, gameful design or gamification, and serious or epistemic games. Now the easiest, simplest to start is playful design or playification. And it allows us to enhance motivation through humor and fun. And in this sided study, we have proposed a model for playful learning in the metaverse with the acronym TANC. So if you are interested to make your course playful, you can create a narrative, a role-playing story around a theme that is interesting to you and your students as well. This story can unfold in episodes where students can become the heroes, exercise their agency to make choices, explore, cooperate, and engage with content, fail also, learn from failure, and complete quests and solve mysteries. You can create these virtual worlds by using components such as avatars, virtual landscapes, and soundscapes as well. This can actually work also in web-based environments, not just in the metaverse. And here you can see one example of it, where in one experience about a smart simulation about the first and ancient board game of the Maya, The players were challenged to play, and when they won the game and they went to collect their prize, they were challenged, surprisingly, to follow the footsteps of the mythological forefathers of the game, and they were invited to prove their abilities in a more complex and difficult game in the underworld by teleporting to the Xibalba, the Mayan underworld, the Mayan hell. So this is one example of how this worked, and the same principle was also applied for library game around playful experience around the history of the book with virtual worlds, and also in a massive open online course that used virtual worlds and achieved completion rates of over 30% when the average MOOC rates were less than 10%. So these are examples of playful design and playification. Moving on, there is also the possibility to apply gamification. And this is one example that we describe in this study for a postgraduate module on artificial intelligence and non-player characters in the University of the West of England, where we introduced characters and quests to provide personalized experience and additional learning experiences to learners that proved out to be very beneficial. Finally, moving on to serious games, one game-based learning method and main game format is the educational or serious escape room, which is a game with a serious purpose, with people who enter one or more spaces to undertake a mission, usually to break out of this room, out of this space. And to achieve this, they have to complete a series of challenges and puzzles within a theme and towards the achievement of the set learning objectives. And here is one example of a serious escape room called the Room of Keys, and developed by the wonderful fellow Enrique Cachafeiro, which is about biology and the function of enzymes, where content was presented in a multimodal way through text and audio, and most importantly, learners were had the challenge to apply knowledge through interactive puzzles of increasing degree of difficulty. And this is also still online. You can still play it if you're interested. Let us know. We can provide you with a link. And we have published several studies on it, proving that it was very beneficial for high school students who improved and developed a deeper understanding of these concepts, even though they had already been taught on them. So just yesterday, I learned that it was reported that in a large European country, around half of the educators that participated in a survey thought that augmented reality is the same as virtual reality. So that means that it's a huge knowledge gap among educators about the metaverse and virtual worlds. So there is an acute need for professional development programs and communities of practice and events and conferences such as this one. So along with colleagues, we designed and developed a flipped online teacher training course for K-12 educators for a European country, namely Cyprus. So now we come to the last uncommon truth, which is to create the future, you need to study the past. So talking about the past, allow me on a personal note, shout out and personal thanks to some very special people that were instrumental to all this path and being here. So first of all, to Randy Heinrichs, the heart and soul of a groundbreaking program that was called the Virtual World Certificate of the University of Washington. And also to one amazing colleague of mine and to many of you, the late Cicely Zapatero, aka Anna Gadler Pratt, a wonderful person and innovator in virtual worlds. She will be missed and fondly remembered. And also to Professor Emeritus Liz Falconer at the University of the West of England, and most importantly, to the members of the AVA alumni community, graduates of the University of Washington program that includes so many inspiring leaders in educational virtual worlds communities such as Val, Zinnia, and many alumni and many others that are around and are at the heart of the community. But now moving on to the present and the past, I am delighted to share that for all of you that are interested to take this further, there's a fairly new but established international master's program on immersive technologies that is being offered by international expert at the International Hellenic University. It is a 2-year postgraduate program, fully online and in English, and you can find all the details in the website if you are interested. And why it's innovative and it's interesting, because it does not only focus on cutting-edge technologies such as virtual reality and augmented reality in education. It goes on to include game design, instructional design, and storytelling, all of them in the context of education and innovation in education. So I think it's can be very interesting and very creative for a lot of people. And just a disclaimer, I'm actively involved in 2 of its modules, so I'm not objective at all here, but feel free to judge by yourself. So we're coming now to the end of the talk. Here you have it, the synopsis, the 7+1 uncommon truths about the educational metaverse. The metaverse has ancient roots. It's still under development. It has dark sides that we need to take into account, and to remember that not all learning works in the metaverse. And we need to start with in mind to win the hearts of our students, to conquer their minds. And it all starts with immersive learning and with motivation through action, play, and story. And for all of you that want to take this very personal and professionally, study the past to create the future. Now, prior to finishing now with our vote, you might remember this question about the train. What happened with the train and the tragedy? So, so here is the answer to this one. As you know, since in these days there's an ongoing investigation about the causes of this accident, and okay, let's see.
Θα πάρω φρέντο καπουτσίνο, μη σου κάνει εντύπωση.
Right, and there are several systemic issues and causes for this. However, one early finding is that the practical training of station masters and the people who were involved in this accident was inadequate. And just to remind you, the station masters are the ones that determine on some occasions manually the tracks where trains move. So if you make one mistake, you could have a collision of trains. Now, unfortunately, these cohorts of train masters did not have a simulation training like the one that you see here on this slide, with realistic conditions and equipment, as you can see here, for example, for welding or for learning how to operate a digger excavator. So on this note, I want to thank you all very much for all your attention. And all works that are cited can be found here on this link, and most of them are openly available. But if you have any problem accessing any of it, please feel free to contact me on ResearchGate, on any other method, and I will be more than happy to provide you and answer any questions. So thank you again for your attention, and I'm very much looking forward to your observations and to your questions. But Laurie, if you can help us also to facilitate the vote, that would be great to see what your verdict would be.
Absolutely.
So is the Metaverse a Pandora's box, a Pandora's Pithos, so a hidden curse, or a panacea, a universal cure for education? What do you think? Is the Metaverse going to generate more problems than solutions in education? Will it transform online and digital education, or is it too early to say? All right, I see many of you are already voting in the chat. Many of you are voting in favor of B, but I think maybe a majority is in favor of a more cautious approach of C. Okay. Of course, it depends on pedagogy, Beth. You're absolutely right. Indeed, we are a biased audience. Bill, you're absolutely right. Oh, D. Okay, somewhere in between. I like it very much. Thank you very much, Sayla, of course. Just do it. Wonderful. All of the... yeah, both of them can happen. That's indeed, that's right. Okay, so many DBs and Cs. Yes, we are biased here. Indeed, digital citizenship is required, and more, to be able to say no and stop and control ourselves and regulate our learning and the online environments and the metaverse and the immersive environments. Wonderful. Oh, hi, Bill. Wonderful to see you also. So what do you think? What is, do you have any questions? I need to apologize because I moved fairly quickly through the topics, and I knew I should have maybe offered more information in depth in some parts, but I prefer to go through it quickly so as to be able to discuss and provide you this outlook and discuss with you, and you can let me know if you have any questions or if you have any disagreements. That would be also wonderful to hear, or if you have additional remarks. I know that amongst us are so wonderful researchers and professors and thought leaders and practice leaders. So please let us know what we have omitted. I know I have omitted several things myself that are maybe in the cutting edge. So please let us know. Question. Okay.
Yes, we have a question from Day Miami.
Right.
So for this new MSc program, what tech skills would educators need, or do they work with the technicians?
Right. Thank you very much, Dae. This master's program is for all educators. You don't need to have advanced technical skills on computer scientist. That's not the case. We have there people from music, from languages, from sports. All kinds of educators are welcome. You need basic technical skills for attending and learning online, and you're good to go, and you're going to be able to develop some technical skills, but it's not a technical degree. So it's for educators. And again,
oh, that sounds great. We have time for one more question, if there are any out there. I don't see any, though.
Question also about the accessibility needs.
Thank you, Gentle.
Yeah.
So there's a question, are accessibility needs, universal design principles included in the Metaverse standards? Great question, Gentle.
Yes. Indeed, yes, absolutely. It's among the principles that are discussed to be able to have inclusive and UDL, as you say, universal design principles. So these are definitely there.
Great. And at that, it takes us to the end. And so I just want to thank you so much, Stylianos. I've been thinking about this concept of Pandora's Pithos since we first talked about the topic. It's been actually haunting my dreams, which is so weird. But there you go. It's been so interesting to see it explained so fully in reference to virtual education. And I'm seriously looking at that IMT MSc you've shared. So great. The discussion in the chat has been rich and full, and thank you for giving us so much to think about as we move forward into day 2 at VWBPE and into tomorrow as well. So a big VWBPE thank you to our friend Stylianos, and head off to our other sessions that are all being advertised across the channels, and we'll applause, applause. And then join us back here at the main auditorium at noon SLT for our second keynote of the day, Alexandra Humphreys. And Alex will be talking about the education and learning lessons coming out of the pandemic from a gaming perspective.